Welcome back, everybody. This is the Vintage Sewing Machine Garage, and you are looking at a continuation of my Motor Series video that I made on removing and installing new grease wicks into your Singer potted motor. And the video cut off, and I realized that, but I wanted to finish that. I actually did finish the video, but the camera had shut off unbeknownst to me, and I just kept going on finishing the video but didn't get it recorded, so I wanted to be sure I did that for you guys. Now what you're seeing here, you're seeing I've already done both of these. I used this grease port, right? I don't know if they're called ports or tanks, but and of course we had the potted motor off the machine. It was turned upside down so that you could get to it. Now the reason I'm showing it to you in this mode, I've already installed and made the videos installing the motor, but you should still be able to see. I'm going to show you essentially, we had, I had showed you guys how to trim wick to the right length, and then after we did that, I showed you guys how to install the wick with the spring and the little clip that it comes with, and there's one for each of the grease ports here, grease tanks. Now, when you go to install, remember you're going to have the wick and the spring are going to be underneath the little metal, there's like a short metal piece that's about this long on top of the clip, and that's where your wick and your spring will go. The main thing I wanted to point out here in this little continuation video, though, is once you have installed your wick in its clip and spring, it's going to install, you're going to take, and I think I mentioned this in the last video, you guys may have seen me using these when these are tweezers, and I use them to grab hold of the clip that holds the wick, right? And I squeezed it on the clip in order to get it to come out of the tank, and out came the old wick. You guys will remember if you've seen that video. If not, watch that video first. This one will make more sense. So when you guys saw I had measured out and installed, I put the new wick into the old spring and put all of that into the clip that had originally come out here after I cleaned it off. So what I did was I took my, if you pretend the clip is on top of the wick, right? I squeezed that in order to get it to go into this this port. It's important to note that when you install the wick, you're going to put it in with the wick on the right side. In other words, if you think of this round port as a clock, okay, here's 12 o'clock, right, and down below is 6 o'clock, you're going to want to make sure, and if you don't have to memorize this, because when you look into the grease port after you've cleaned it out, you'll see some steel, which is where this connects to the bearing of the motor. There's actually two, and you're going to install the wick at 12 o'clock on that side of the opening, okay? So you're not going to put it in the center, okay? It's not, the wick is not going in the center of this port, right? It's like the center of the hole. It's not going over to the left or to 6 o'clock, okay? It's going to come to this side, and it'll make sense because when you look down into that port and it's empty, you're going to be able to see that it goes down further at this 12 o'clock position if you think of that little hole as a clock. And you'll install, and again you'll have this wick that you see me grabbing with the tweezers is actually you'll be grabbing the clip that the wick is installed under, and you squeeze it and you simply drop it in. Okay, the wick goes in, and the wick will go further in. It's actually going to go further down, and then the clip itself is going to rest. Okay, it's going to rest. You're going to push down into this port, and you don't have to push it all the way down. Sometimes it'll go in easy, and sometimes it'll want to fuss with you because you've got these threads, these steel threads, which you don't want to damage, because those are for your big, your grease port, giant knurled screw cap, right? For lack of a better word. Now you can see I've already put in new lubricant. Remember, I'd taken all the old out with the cotton swabs. I went through a ton of them, got all the old out. There wasn't a ton, but you want to get the old grease out. Don't leave any cotton swab. You don't want any cotton fibers in there. So I like to use those those precision point. This is, I can actually show you guys the difference. I think I've shown you before. Here on my right is a generic cotton swab, and they work fine for most things. And then on the left is the precision tip cotton swab, and these are under the Q-tip brand. I think these are just generic, but the Q-tip brand precision tips are denser, and they're not only do they have more of a tip, the cotton seems to be packed a little more densely. You still have to be careful, right? You don't want to snag on anything. Just check it before you finish up. Anyway, you're going to take the grease is Singer lubricant, which is actually a grease, and what you'll do is once you've gotten your wick and the little clip and spring loaded into that space, you can put a little bit of grease on the very tip that's going in, that's going to hit the bearing if you want. But anyway, once you've installed the wick and the clip, right, it's going to sit right back in where it came out of. Then you're going to take your grease and you're going to fill in, and you're going to fill the clip, which is shaped kind of like a pear. It's kind of an odd shape. You're going to sort of push grease down into the sides of the clip and then over the top. Now, when I filled in grease, you don't want to overfill it, because if you put too much grease in here, what's going to happen is when you put this screw cap back on, it's just going to squish out and it's going to make a mess, because it only holds so much. So the key here is I filled up the grease to approximately, I think I came up to about 1/8 of an inch from the top of my threads. Let's zoom in here so you can maybe get a better view of what I'm talking about. Okay, now you'll notice that the grease is further down than that. That's because the grease cap, or the screw cap, pushed it down. So when you fill in your grease, you want to pour it in, and don't pack it in super tight. It's okay. You just want to kind of squirt around the clip. It's okay to leave a few air gaps. You're going to need those. And then you can come up to about 1/8 of an inch before you get to the top of this opening right here. Okay? Because once you've done that, it'll look like it comes up to the top, but you've still got a few air pockets in there, and that's a good thing, because when you go to put your screw cap back in, right, and this is a very heavy beefy screw cap, okay, and I'm not going to tighten it with a screwdriver. It has a knurled surface on the sides. It was designed to be grabbed by fingers, and I'm just going to, now it's nice and snug and it's fine. It should not leak. And remember, this is grease, not oil. Okay, don't put oil in here. Whatever you do, you will destroy the motor and make a huge mess. So now that this is on here, the main purpose of this sort of straight head screwdriver is to get it loose when it's tight, right? Make sure you use a screwdriver tip that fits, and that's it. That's how you basically fill in your grease. The next time I do one of these, I'll make another video to finish that off, but essentially that's what you do. The motor series video I did showed, again, how to, I've got a series of these videos, guys. I've got videos on how to remove the motor, how to check the brushes, how to remove the old grease wicks and the old grease, which we covered, and then the video ended there. And so I wanted to just kind of put the tail end back on here, is that you can see, and I've already done both, or I would videotape that for you guys. But again, it's not, once you've gotten everything set up like I showed you in the main video that I did on this, all that's really left is to put it back in and put in your grease. The main point I wanted to make in this little video is don't overfill, okay? And you'll get a feel for it if you do enough of these, because if you do, it'll squish out, and then you can take a rag and you can clean it up. It's not the end of the world, but it'll just save you the pain of that, and that's it. Unlike oiling a sewing machine, normally, let's say before a sewing project, you don't have to lubricate this, okay? In fact, this lubrication I have just done with the new wicks should last many, many years, okay? There's a chance that the wicks I took out in the main video I did with this, my gosh, they may be the original, right? And it was a shame. That grease was long overdue. It needed new grease, and it needed the grease level to come up. But now, we've taken care of it, and now we've basically taken care of the lubrication of this wonderful motor's bearings for the foreseeable future. And so I just wanted to show that to you guys and let you see because I know the video cut off, and I thought, oh, that's not cool because you guys were waiting to see this. So again, you want to use Singer lubricant, and then again, after you've installed the new wick with the clip, and again, it's a matter of taking the tweezers, squeezing the clip. The main point is to make sure that your wick, and again, you'll have the motor off and upside down. It'll be easier to see that. But you know, if you think about this as a big circle, this right here, right, which is if it's facing you straight up, it would be the right side of this, right? That's where your wick will go. And if you're still not sure, look down into the hole and you'll notice where the wick goes, because the wick part of the clip is the longest, and it'll have the most travel room down that side. And you'll see a piece of steel. Everything in here looks black when it's cleaned out, except for steel. Shine a flashlight down in there and you'll see, and that steel is further down, and that's where the wick goes. And then the clip, of course, rests right. You want to squeeze the ends of the clip and try to get it down about 1/8 of an inch below the top surface if you can, or even if it's not that far, just make sure that it can wiggle and move, so that when you put in your grease port screw cap, that the cap is able to push it down further, and it'll be sealed up and ready to go. Thank you all for watching. This is I think it's the first time I've covered this much detail on a Singer potted motor before. And oh, you know what I can do? I'm going to take this back off for you guys. Now that I think about it, I was just about to end the video, and I'll show you an example of what I was talking about when you're adding the grease, right? Because people say, well, you know, because you don't, there's not a way to measure this in ounces, and you can see the grease in here. Now, if I push in, there we go. That should focus in, right? So notice I'm pushing in grease here, right? But I didn't push it all the way to the top. I've already pushed in some, so I'm kind of pushing the limit of it there. But I just wanted you guys to see me putting grease in. It's not rocket science. It's pretty simple. And again, don't fill it all the way up to the top. I've already filled it up to the 1/8 of an inch, pushed it down with this. I just add a little bit more. Now let's see, if I went over, you'll see the grease begin to appear out the gap where this cap seats. So I just need to get it going with its threads. It's kind of an awkward space to do it. It's kind of an awkward angle here for me here, because I don't do it from this angle, and you can see why. This is why I told you need to remove the motor. Okay, there we go. So I'm turning it back, or screwing it back in, and again, I don't need a screwdriver for this. You shouldn't. The grease in the tank will help lubricate the threads, and yep, and there you go. So yeah, you can see I had a little bit more space to add grease, but again, you always just want to be add a little bit at a time. You'll get a feel for how much to put in there, and that is our finishing up of the lubrication of the Singer potted motor. Thanks again for watching, guys. I don't know how many more videos I've got of this particular 1591. I've definitely got to do a debut video, and that should be coming up soon. Really appreciate all of you watching my channel, and if you haven't subscribed, feel free to. It doesn't cost you anything, and you can also click the little bell symbol there, and it'll let you know when a new video is being posted. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.